Once you have a purpose, that can fulfill you. For me, number one, the love of God. Number one,
Absolutely.
I don't think money or material things
Nothing
can fulfill
comes
you.
before
I've
that.
been blessed. Hey, what's going on? It's Alfred Nickson,
And I'm Alecio.
and welcome to Profits and Profits. This is a podcast that's going to deal with business, finances, relationship, and faith.
And a little controversy as well. Right? We might have a little. Well, no, we're definitely gonna have some controversy because anywhere you mix in, Bible, religion, politics. I mean, there's no way. But I do want to make a quick disclaimer. Huge disclaimer. We are not prophets. It's
We're
called
not
Prophets
prophets.
and Profits. We're not prophets at all.
But I think you'll get a lot of value from these episodes. We got some incredible guests lined up, and just the value from ourselves, what we've been able to experience. So I think you'll profit much from that. And when it comes to profits, I think the people that we got lined up, we're going to do a deep dive into the Bible, a deep dive into faith, things that I got questions about with the Bible, and just things in general. So welcome here to the podcast. And Ray, it's a couple of things I want to start off with. I'm not sure if you've been paying attention to the tariffs, but they've been racking in a ton of money. I think last month they brought in over 20 billion.
Yeah.
The month before that they brought in over 16 billion. Just the last couple of months.
Sheesh.
What's your thoughts on that?
I mean, and Trump's just been in office a couple months.
Okay.
So I think, when he first took office, one of the things, I don't know if it was right before he took office, but he said something about how he wants to eliminate income taxes, basically.
Yeah, I'll
And he
be
wants
all
to do
for
that
that.
with
I've paid millions of dollars in taxes, and,
I'm telling you.
me and you was just here talking about. I think they should go a route where they just charge a sales tax. Like if
That's
I go
perfect.
purchase something, maybe you charge me a 25% sales tax, but not an income tax. What's your thoughts on that?
I mean, I think that the way to offset that, because I do agree that that the government does need to make their money.
Sure.
I'm for that 1,000%, but I think they should make it in the form of a sales tax cut like Dubai or Monaco. The way they do it is perfect.
I love
bro.
how Dubai do it. Yeah, for sure.
Because everybody's tax free. They get to live there. That's why they have all these big dogs in Dubai and in Monaco, these high rollers, because they're going over there for the tax perks, and they're spending a ton of money on and they're raking it. They're getting it from sales taxes. But the way that it is that over here we pay 7% sales tax.
Yeah.
I'm cool with increasing that to 12,
25%,
15,
20%. If I'm not going to get
20%.
income tax.
Yeah.
Now, mind you, I don't mind paying taxes, but who really knows where that money goes?
Yeah.
I mean, the streets, the it could be much improved.
Yeah.
Even with the homelessness, if we generating that type of revenue, it shouldn't be any homelessness. So a lot of people really don't know what the IRS do. I don't want to talk much about the IRS. I don't want to flag anything, but what I'm just saying is, in general, I think with the tariffs, if they were to slide to a way where they do us a sales tax and go away with income tax, I'll be all for it.
No, and the IRS can make their money either way. I'm cool with increasing
Yeah, of
that.
course.
And now roads and all that. I think roads are taken care of by like SunPass.
Personally, yeah, I think it can be
the
private.
SunPass and all of that.
Yeah, that's going to be a private ownership. I always wanted to get into that business, right? If you own a toll road, the money that's coming through there from
That's going to be hard. Because
that's private owners with that though. It's
that's
tough
gonna
for
be a
people.
hard business
A lot of
to
people don't
get
even want to let you get into that realm.
Yeah, it's it's going to be nearly impossible to get into. But if you've been to Dubai, the first time I went to Dubai.
The first time I went to Dubai was with you. Yeah, that was funny.
What was that? 2016.
2016,
Yeah,
man. That was
the first time we ever went to Dubai. Was
that
together.
changed my life. It changed my
my
business.
perspective
Yeah.
on life, on traveling. Like, whoa.
Back then, though, the crazy thing about it was when we was over there, the GPS didn't work. Remember that? Back in 2016.
It was nothing like what it is today.
Yeah, Dubai has went to another.
Went?
The last time I went, I think, was like 2019,
Yeah.
2020, right before the pandemic.
I went 2 years ago.
Okay.
And it was, night and day difference. 2 years ago, I went 2 times, 2 different times 2 years ago. It was night and day difference from the first time we went. The GPS was, I'm glad you reminded me about it.
It works now in there, but
now
back then.
I remember me and Greg went out. We were, because of the time difference, we were wide awake. around like 3 in the morning.
Correct.
And me and him went out because we couldn't sleep, and we just got lost out in the desert
It's
like
hard
at 3 in
to,
the morning.
you don't know where you're going back then, but I mean, Dubai has developed so much. They've poured so much money into it. There's so much resource. So many people come there for business.
Yes, bro.
And you know what I look at is just the agriculture over there, the way that you is to do business, and it's like the wild wild west. I mean, you can go to the bank and bring as much liquid capital as you want. No questions asked.
I like it, bro. They don't limit you. But one thing is like we were saying, the GPS thing. I mean, we got lost in the middle of nowhere in the desert back in 2016. Now you go, everything's working. Anywhere you go in the UAE, it's working perfectly. One thing that grabbed my attention is the homeless. There's no
homelessness there.
People.
I remember when me and you went over there. I had a Rolls Royce. You had the Porsche. We had got some cars just to have some fun, and nobody cared. It was like a Toyota Camry. It was you drive and nobody would look up. Nobody was excited about that. The police cars was luxury vehicles, Bentleys and Rolls Royce. It was unique. Dubai is definitely a special place, and Trump has been in the office now for a few months now. What do you think about some of the things he's doing? I know we got different opinions of that, even from the viewers. I even just seen recently Elon Musk walked away. He's not a part of a Doge. What you think about Trump so far? He's pretty aggressive right now.
I mean, bro, you've known since day one. I've been with Trump since when everybody hated Trump.
Don't say that publicly.
Remember back when everybody hated Trump, I was day one. I'm like, I'm all in with Trump.
Yeah,
from day one. From day one to this day, now it's like a trendy thing to like Trump. It's okay, it's acceptable now to like Trump. I like Trump when you couldn't be Hispanic and say you like Trump.
It's debatable. It's not a very popular decision to like Trump, but I for me, I don't really have a political. I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. I'm for what's right. Mm-hmm. I'm not for what's wrong. And one of the things I can say positively about Trump is I know who I'm getting. Yeah. And what I've seen in the past of people that come into office or people that's in politics, they tell you what you want to hear. They get in the office and they do whatever they want to do.
Trump's been
With
delivering,
Trump,
bro.
He's going to tell you the truth, whether you like it or not. He's a straight shooter. I like someone that's going to be honest, where I can decide and say, you know what, the hell with this guy. I don't like this guy.
But here's the thing about Trump is that he's not perfect. So, but he does at the very least, he puts in effort to keep his word. Mm-hmm. And you don't need to be perfect. You're human. We get that. And we don't want you to be perfect, but at least try to keep your word. At least push to keep your word. And that's one thing that I've noticed about Trump is that even though he makes promises, he can't keep all his promises, but he definitely keeps a lot of his promises. And at the very least, he puts in the effort to keep the promises. And that's all you could hope for, because most politicians, they just make promises. They couldn't care less about even trying to keep them at all. Yeah. Trump at least puts the effort. He's like, look, I'm going to strive to do this because this is what I said I was going to do. So I'm going to do my best to do this. And he does it. I don't like being biased just for my side, right? I'll throw you a bone if you're on the opposite side. There are things that I think that on the conservative side, what we do is not good. Like, for example, the whole immigration thing, I'm for coming here legally.
Correct. You got to come legally. Got to be the right way.
And I'm here for, deporting who needs to be deported. Whoa. But one thing I don't like is people on our side, when they see somebody get deported who's probably just here, I get it, they broke the law because they came here legally, but they're just here, working with a family, and they see a video on Instagram of them getting snatched up by ICE, and they start laughing in the comments, haha, good for them. Like, that's not cool, bro.
People come because...
So I'll throw you a bone in saying, that, we're not, we have things that we need to fix.
Yeah, we got to do it the right way. We don't want to maliciously do that to people. I mean, but every country I've gone to, and I've been around the world, I've traveled a lot, and they real strict. When I'm going through customs in Germany, when I'm going through customs in Dubai, they monitor everything, what's coming in. I seen a situation with Brittany Griner. Shout out to Brittany Griner, tremendous WNBA basketball player. She was, I think she went to Germany or Russia. I think it was Russia. And I think she had like a vape pen or whatever the case may be. I mean, it was real strict over to what you bring into their country, what comes into their country. They monitor everything.
Yeah.
I think here in the United States, that's something as the nation of the free, quote unquote, people come over here for opportunity. We can't just let anybody come into the country.
That's a problem.
It has to be monitored. It has to be done the right way.
We got to know who's coming in, bro.
Yeah.
We got to know. I don't know. I mean, who knows how many people are in this country that shouldn't be here? And I mean, for all the wrong reasons, they shouldn't be here, right?
Yeah.
Because they've done some craziness back where they're from, and now they're coming over here. Like we don't know who's coming across those borders, bro.
Yeah. And
We have no idea.
yeah, for a series for a time, people were just walking into the country. I mean, it was insane. Daily amounts of people that was coming in, and they had it all on camera. It was just coming into the country. But now I see, with Trump being in office now, one of the things
order.
You got to have order. You got to have a certain structure. You got to have a leader that's strong, a leader that stands for something and not just go for anything. And one of the things I've seen recently, I was just joking with one of my friends about this. Eggs has significantly gone down, the price of eggs. Shout out to that. Gas prices have also gone down. So I think Trump, he's done some great things, and I also think he's done some questionable things in a short period of time. And like I said earlier, Elon Musk has walked away. He did the last bill that he said he didn't agree with it, and he wanted to focus more so back on his companies. But segue into, talking a little bit about business and entrepreneurship. A lot of people that's viewing this, they're in that realm. Maybe they coming up in entrepreneurship or looking to expand their business. What was one of the things that you had to overcome on your journey to success?
I mean, the number one thing above all else, I think I cared too much about people's opinions.
Ooh, that's a big one. Yes.
I think that's what it was. Because,
most people do that, though.
Yeah.
Why?
I think that's the number one reason a lot of people are held back.
Why do people care about what other people think of them? Like,
I'll share my reasoning, and I think a lot of people can probably relate. But I was embarrassed to post my business because if I failed, my friends were gonna roast me. They were gonna roast me. They're like, "Oh, well, why are you even doing this? Why are you doing that?"
But why do you care what they think though? Like, what's the point?
We just care what people think, bro.
Why?
And but I'll tell you this, why? Because if we fail, now we're stuck seeing these people for forever, and they're gonna bring up our failures in the future. And we don't know. I didn't know if I was really capable of making this happen.
Well, I
didn't know if I had it in me for real.
Yeah, that's true.
I did.
I get what you're saying, because you want to try to have building peace.
You imagine if I really couldn't do it. I started posting about it on social media and going out there and trying to build. My friends are gonna roast me. We grew up in that environment where you get roasted for everything.
Yeah.
Any little thing you do, you get roasted.
But here's what I came up with, and here's what I've seen over the years is people are gonna talk about you whether you do good or bad.
Exactly.
I mean, so why value what other people are gonna talk? And look at LeBron James. I mean, he's done everything that a person possibly. I mean, he's exceeded expectations to come into the NBA at 18 years old, to be called the chosen one, and to become probably, this could be controversial, the best player of all time.
At least in the conversation.
He's definitely in the conversation. Some of these viewers think he is because they probably millennials, but my GOAT would always be Michael Jordan. But LeBron James has done everything to me the right way and even exceeded. I mean, he became a champion. He had a beautiful family, got married. I mean, just done incredible things in his life. And people still, Skip Bayless,
still have something to say about
negative about him. So for me, I always look at it as people are going to talk about you whether you do good or bad. They talk bad about Jesus. He was perfect. So why do people value what other people think or say about them?
So that's the way of life, bro. That's how humans work.
Yeah.
So if people are gonna talk about you whether you like it or not, might as well get rich.
To be
good? Might as well get rich from it.
Right.
At least try to get rich from it, because
talk bad about Elon Musk,
bro. If they're gonna talk about you regardless, might as well at least try to get rich.
They talk bad about Elon Musk. They talk bad about Trump.
Exactly.
And at one point, everybody liked it Joe Biden.
Yeah.
They talked bad about him when he got it.
I want to clarify what I mean by at least try to get rich is because when I was able to to stop caring about what people thought about me, bro, I had the biggest breakthrough of my life.
Yeah.
And my life has never been the same ever since. I was able to quit my job. I haven't had a 9 to 5 or anything. I used to work the graveyard shift, by the way, for 6 years before that.
Security, or what you did?
A front desk. I was
Okay.
a front desk guy
Okay.
at a condo.
Okay.
And you
Okay.
know, and concierge, right?
Okay.
So,
Absolutely.
but I did that for 6 years, and that year I had my life changed completely. But it was all this. It was all when I stopped caring about what people think. I promise you, the second I stopped caring about what people think, months later, I blew up online. I made a lot of money. I never made that anywhere, probably not even half of that kind of money in my life in a month. Never done it. Now, I've had some massive months that have highly exceeded those.
Absolutely.
So, it's just. But it was the second that I stopped caring about it. You got to think of it like this, bro. Because I know this was my perspective, and you got to look at it from different perspectives. If we know that caring about people's opinions of you is going to hold you back from making, let's say, $100,000 a year, you got to ask yourself: is that person's opinion of you worth $100,000 a year?
Well, I think most people give people too much power.
Yeah.
Me, I don't care what people think about me. I don't care what people say about me, because, again, I always seen that whether you do good or bad, they're going to talk about you. Whether you give back or not, they're going to talk about you.
Exactly.
It would never be enough. It would never fulfill. And so my whole thing was getting in alignment of following what's your purpose. I think once you have a purpose, that can fulfill you. For me, number one, the love of God, number one.
Absolutely.
I don't think money or material things
Nothing
can fulfill
comes
you.
before
I've
that.
been blessed,
Yeah.
and so I've had all of those things. We've built homes from the ground up, mansions, the cars that you can. All of that stuff is great material-wise, but I can tell you the love of God, that's what, when you have a purpose, and number one, you have God, that is when you will be fulfilled, and that's when you wouldn't really care what people are thinking. You'll be in pursuit of what the calling is over your life and what your purpose. My purpose makes me happy. Going out there creating, going out there building, going out there changing people's lives, putting them in a position to grow and succeed. When you start deviating from that and focusing on what the comments are in Instagram or what people are saying, I had to even detach myself from some of my friends when I was coming up in my industry, because they was negative, because they just didn't know. They didn't mean any harm. They just didn't know what they didn't know. And I had to separate myself for a season and get in the right environments and the right people and things to help me grow. And we still got a great relationship to this day with my friends. But I had to separate myself and get focused on the things that I wanted to build and grow for myself. But that's what I've learned over the years. Once you have the love of God and once you have a purpose, you will truly be fulfilled.
Absolutely. And to add to what you're saying, one thing that I always want to do is I always want to have time freedom. I want to have financial and time freedom. If I can have both of those things, one of my biggest hobbies that I have is I love studying scripture. I get deep with scripture. I mean, I go deep, bro. When it comes
And what
to
you think about that? In the Bible, it say we shouldn't eat pork. Certain things that we shouldn't do. What is your thoughts around that?
I mean,
You eat pork?
no, I don't eat pork. I don't eat shrimp. I keep the.
You eat steaks?
Of course, yeah. It's from beef.
Lobster?
It's beef. No lobster.
No lobster, no
crab,
shellfish, no.
No shellfish.
Why not?
No oyster.
I can't eat lobster?
No.
Why not?
Leviticus 11 says not to.
What?
In
Okay.
the Bible.
Okay.
Now I will say this.
What is the reasoning behind, for the viewers and even myself, when pork and shellfish?
Yeah. So I'll give both sides, right? I'll let you know what the argument is against it, and I'll let you know what the argument is for it, right? I'll give you both sides of the story, because a lot of people watching might not know the argument against it, and why do all Christians?
A lot
eat
of
it
people
then?
may just
So
be they like shrimp and lobster. They like steak and lobster. They don't know anything. They just eating. They enjoying.
Exactly. So when it comes to all of that, and by the way, I do want to clarify. Even throughout the years, I've been a believer for many years, bro. Since I was very young, I've been a believer. I didn't grow up in anything. I grew up, being stupid in the streets, being an idiot. But I grew out of that eventually, and when I was, I think around in my late teens, I started getting into it. But I left. I fell off for many years. I blew up online. I was already falling off, but there were always certain things that I still held to. One of those was what I ate. I stayed away from pork. I stayed away from shrimp. You've never, all the years you've known me, you've never once seen me eat a pepperoni pizza. You've never seen me eat bacon. Not once ever have you ever seen me eat any of these things, because there are certain things that I've held to, even though I wasn't walking, and that was
And for the
that was
viewers
one of
and
them.
even myself, why is that not okay to eat?
Okay.
What's the
So I'll give you the argument against it first. The argument against it is that they say things like, well, we're not under the law. That's the Old Testament. The laws of the Old Testament are done away with, right? That's the argument against it, because they'll quote things like Romans 6:14. It says we're no longer under law but under grace. The issue with that passage to justify is that it's not talking about obeying the law. Because if you read the next verse 15, it says, so then what? Do we then sin because we're no longer under law? God forbid. So what is sin? 1 John 3:4 tells us what sin is. The definition of sin is transgression of the law. Transgression of the law is the definition of sin. Yeah. So in other words, we can rephrase Romans 6:15 to make it fit the proper context of what the word sin means. So we can say, starting in verse 14, Romans 6, verse 14 says, so what? We're no longer under law but under grace. And then verse 15, so what? Should we transgress the law because we're not under the law? God forbid.
Yeah.
So that's the proper context, is, do we sin? Do we break the law because we're no longer under the law? God forbid. That's not what I'm saying. Correct. This is wordplay. Again, another Galatians 3 verses 24 and 25. For after faith in Jesus and Yeshua, I call him by his Hebrew name Yeshua, but Jesus is cool. It's fine too, right? But after faith in Jesus and Yeshua has come, we're no longer under the law. We're no longer under that tutor, that schoolmaster. So they say, oh, you see, after we have faith in Yeshua, we're not under the law. We don't need to obey it. So the guy who wrote that was a guy named Paul, Apostle Paul, which who he is.
Absolutely.
But Paul wrote that, Galatians 3:14. After faith, we're no longer under the law. But hold on, Romans 3:31, the same Paul said, after faith, we established the law. So hold on, if Galatians 3:24 and 25 is saying that we don't obey the law after faith, he just contradicted himself if we interpret it that way with Romans 3:31. Because in Romans 3:31, he says, we're no longer under law. No, he says, after faith has come, we established the law. Yeah. And over there it says, after faith has come, we're not under the law. Correct. So is that a contradiction, or are we just misinterpreting what we're not under the law actually means? Right. What we're not under the law means is you're not under the penalties, the consequences of the law. That's all it means. It doesn't mean you don't obey the law, because we're not going to murder, right? We agree we're not going to murder. We're not.
So that's against the law to eat pork and shellfish?
Absolutely. Leviticus 11. Leviticus 11 covers all that. And just to kind of seal up that conversation, we know for a fact Paul never spoke against the law because Paul himself said it. Paul said in Acts 25, verse 8, he says that I have never committed any offense against the law of the Jews, against the temple. I've never committed any offense against that. Specifically, he specified, I've never committed any offense against the law. So how can we now turn around and blame Paul for saying the law is done away with, when Paul himself said in Acts 25, verse 8, that I've never committed any offense against the law? You're contradicting Paul's own words, because Paul's own words said he wasn't doing that.
I'm gonna meditate on. You say Leviticus.
Leviticus 11 gives us a list of what we can and cannot eat. Okay. It gives us a list.
I'm gonna go study that and meditate on it. Leviticus 11.
We can't eat pork, camel. A list of things.
Camel? People eat camel?
Yeah. In the Middle East, there are a lot of people who eat camel.
What about lamb?
A lot of Muslims eat camel, which is weird because they don't eat pork. They don't eat pork because.
What about lamb chops?
lamb chops that's fine. That's fine. But Muslims don't eat pork, but they eat camel, which is crazy because they don't eat pork from Leviticus 11. But that same chapter tells you don't eat camel.
But a camel is pork to you?
It's unclean. It's an unclean animal.
How you know that? Where you get that from?
It's in the Bible. It's in Leviticus 11. Yeah.
Okay.
It specifically mentions camel.
Okay.
So, but lamb is good. You can eat lamb. I don't eat too much lamb, but I've eaten lamb a few times.
Yeah, I had some lamb chops in my life.
Yeah. It has a different taste. I like it. I like the flavor.
It's lean. It's actually lean. And so what I look at now when you talk about those things, and I think I grew up in the church.
Yeah.
And I started going to many different churches and things of that nature. One of the things I believe that people should have their own personal relationship with God.
Yeah.
Outside of an apostle, outside of a building. I'm not saying they need to disrespect their apostle. I think they should honor
100%.
And go to church and things of
Their
that
leadership.
nature. But one of the things that I've learned is that, people that have this right here, they call this a flesh. They're going to let you down.
100%.
They're going to fail you. I've heard people told me many times, though, I got hurt by the church. And they allow that offense that a human made that got a flesh to deteriorate them from going to church or encourage them to be with church. And so if you're watching, I want to encourage you as you go into some of these episodes. And again, we're not prophets. We still learning. We're meditating on the word. Build your own relationship with God. Read the word. I want to be honest here and say over the last maybe year, that's when I really dived into the word. I used to go to church and I felt the spirit, but I never really fully knew the word. I knew John 3:16. I knew Genesis and
Philippians 4.
stuff like that. But really reading the word and really getting your own revelation and spending time in prayer. One of the things my pastor mentioned, he said, Alfred, let's just put it out there. If we were to do math, it's 24 hours in a day. You times that by 7, I think that came up to 168 hours or something like that. I could be wrong, somewhere in that range.
Yeah.
He say for people that's somewhat committed, these people are committed.
Yeah.
They spending probably an hour a day in the prayer. They may wake up and pray, right? That's maybe 5 days a week. He say, Alfred, that's just 5 hours. The people that go to Bible study on Wednesday, they may spend 2 hours. He say, Alfred, that's 7 hours. People that go to church on Sunday, they may spend 2 hours. You say, Alfred, that's 9 hours out of 168 hours in a week. And these are the committed people that's spending an hour a day in the prayer, 5 days a week. That's going to Bible study. Most people aren't committed, nowhere near close to that. Most people may wake up in the morning, spend 5 minutes into prayer. All right, I want to encourage, that's what I've been doing the last year. And it's been growing my relationship with God. It's me being attentive about the time that I'm spending with the Creator, the one who can take me to where I want to go. And I want to encourage all users that's plugging in here and taking it to this podcast to build your own relationship with God, because man will fail you. And it's not because they want to harm you or hurt you. It's because they got something called flesh. And God said in the word that, no man is perfect. Everybody have sinned. So I want to encourage y'all to do that. I started diving into the word, man, and it's really helped me understand and build a revelation and grow my relationship with God.
Absolutely. And I think one of those, again, the dietary laws from Leviticus 11 play into that as well. I think that has an effect. I'll give you an example. Why did all of mankind fall to begin with? Why did all of humanity fall? All of humanity was cursed in the Garden of Eden for what? What took place in the Garden of Eden?
Well, God, one of the things, what I love, God about is God is a God of honor. He's a gentleman. He gives everybody free will.
Yeah.
He's not going to make you a robot. You get what I'm saying? He's not going to force you to worship and praise him. And so Adam and Eve in the garden, from my perspective, he gave them dominion.
But what did they do?
They disobeyed God.
But there was a specific act. Do you want me to let you know exactly what they did?
So what I see from my perspective would be, God didn't curse them until Adam ate the apple, right?
Bingo.
Eve, when she ate it, you get what I'm saying? She was still whatever. When Adam ended up eating it, that's when God came down and said, "What have you done? Like, what's going. I told y'all not to eat
Yeah.
from this tree. You're the leader. You're the head. You're the like. If she made the mistake, I understand that. But I told you
Yeah.
before. Like, so that's the offense that I see, and that's what got us
But you
kind
said
of.
it right there. Ate the fruit. Ate the fruit. What was it? Dietary. You see, the fall of mankind
What they
came
eat.
from dietary.
Yeah,
Because
ate
they ate
wrong.
the fruit.
Yeah.
They're like, but that's just a fruit. What's the big
He
deal? in
told you
eating the
not to
fruit?
eat from that tree, though.
He said, don't eat it. That's
Disobeyed
prohibited. That's
God.
forbidden.
Yeah.
It's forbidden, and
Yeah.
you didn't think it was a big deal.
Yeah.
He thought it was a big
That's
deal.
when people eat lobster. They don't think it's a big deal. They enjoying
That's
themselves.
my point.
But, yeah.
So how can we say not eating certain things is not a big deal? That's what the
is.
same thing Eve thought.
Yeah.
Same thing Adam thought.
Yeah. That's
Not eating a fruit.
Yeah,
And that's a
yeah.
fruit.
You
We
didn't
love
think I
eating
wouldn't have thought it
fruits,
was a big deal probably either.
Yeah.
I'm just they say, well, if you eat from this tree, you will be like God. You will
Yeah.
have the knowledge of God and you will know all things. And that's probably, okay, let me go. You say, well, if I eat from this tree, they say I will surely die.
Yeah.
Well, no, you're not gonna die. She ate
Yeah.
from the tree, she didn't die. And Adam, she persuaded him, and now we in the situation that we in right now. We supposed to be in grace. We supposed to be in matrimony, but
Yeah.
because they disobeyed God, and as you mentioned, dietary, that's where we at right now.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, and I want to add to that because of grace, because there are people saying, but we're under grace now. But they were always under grace. Noah was under grace. That's how he lived. God had mercy on him. He had grace. Because of grace, he was saved. He
God
said,
has
build
mercy
that
on
ark.
all of us, man.
Build that ark. We all, the Israelites in the wilderness.
Yeah.
If you read, as a matter of fact, if you read in the commandment, you can't have grace without keeping the commandments. They go hand in hand.
So do you keep the Sabbath? That's something you practice?
Absolutely. And if you read Exodus 20 verse 6, it'll tell you the word.
And what's the
read it.
difference? People that they
me
keep the
pull it
Sabbath. They start Friday evening.
Friday evening.
Friday evening, and then what about people that they go to church on Sundays? That's what they believe. That's what I was brought up on.
I don't knock it.
Everybody got
I don't knock it. I used to knock it for real heavy back in the days. I don't knock it anymore because at the end of the day, I think they're still my brothers and
they still going to try to
and Messiah
spend time with God. You
Absolutely,
get what I'm saying?
They're still my brothers. I don't knock it. I used to, but over the years, I've just grown, matured, and I just see they're definitely, their heart is definitely in the right place, and they're absolutely still brothers in the faith, and we need the work that they're doing because these are the guys that are going out there putting in work and spreading the word of Jesus to the streets. A lot of these guys are sharing the gospel with the world, with the lost. So we absolutely need their work. Anybody who says that we don't, they're just delusional. They're in a cult or something.
Yeah.
But because even though I don't agree with them on certain aspects, I still consider them brothers and sisters.
Give people grace.
Absolutely.
People. You never really know what people are going through. You never know what people upbringing was, what their childhood, what traumas they going through. Even right now to this day, pray for people. Give them grace. I mean, I'm not telling you to not build boundaries and things of that nature, but pray for people, man. Give them grace, And one of the things I also say, Gray, is I've seen what you've built. I've seen how you grew organizations. I've seen a lot of people who's gone on to become super successful from some of the systems and things that you built in place. What will be one, takeaway or giveaway that you would give to the audience on something that kind of you had to unlearn or something you had to overcome to start getting into a high level of success?
Okay, so before I get into that, I want to read this verse, Exodus 26, but I want to read it in Hebrew. Because in Hebrew, you see what it really says.
I don't know how Hebrew.
I'll translate it. I'll translate it for you. But it's Exodus 20, verse 6. And it says, Ve'oseh chesed, grace, ve'oseh chesed la alafim leohavai ul shomerei mitzvotai. So it's saying, showing kindness to the 1,000 generations of those who love me and keep my commandments. But showing grace, chesed is the word grace. Showing grace, they translate it to kindness. I don't know why, but showing grace to the 1,000th generation of those who love me and keep my commandments. The word is that it says there, it says, ve'oseh chesed. Chesed literally means grace, and it's not, oh, we're not under that, we don't obey that because we're under grace now. No, it goes hand in hand with the commandments of God, with the law.
Right.
You can't have one without the other. It's
Correct.
literally in Exodus 20 verse 6. But so I just wanted to finish off that because I had that pulled up.
Yeah, of course.
But back to your question. Yeah, I've helped a lot of people, make a lot of money. But it's a two-way street because a lot of people have also helped me. Yeah. I've done really well. I've had a lot of time freedom. I've been able to do a lot of cool things in life because of a lot of people who have also helped me. I think it's good to acknowledge that other people help you because when you're on the rise, you're coming up, you have an ego. Like, nobody's actually self-made.
Nobody. Somebody done poured into you in some type of way. You done watch. You done learn.
Did you teach yourself how to read?
No.
Did you teach yourself how to count and
Yeah,
how to do math?
I had many mentors along the way, personally, and some mentors that I would say from afar that I never even met.
Oh yeah. Same.
But I learned from them.
Same.
I studied them. I took things away from them and implemented it in my life, and it was able to give me an efficient level of success. I even learned from people that's failed. I learned from people who's made bad decisions. I've learned from people who's gone down the wrong road, and that mentored me as well.
Absolutely.
That helped me say, you know what? Nah, I see what happened, how he ended up. I'm not going to do that. And so I never will proclaim to be self-made or, it was all on me. Sure enough, I had a great work ethic. Yeah. Obviously, I had a mindset to want more. Yeah. But at the end of the day, I learned a lot from so many people. Yeah. I got a lot of resources from so many people, and I was just able to put in the work and execute.
Absolutely. What do you think was one of the biggest strategies, one of the most effective strategies that you implemented that helped you really take off?
What I would share with entrepreneurs is pouring money back into your business. When I was struggling in the industry, it was because I was being cheap. Yeah. I was everything that I made, I held to my chest. I never reinvested back into the business. That's why my first 3 years, it was a struggle for me. I really didn't make any money at all. And so when I shifted my mindset to say, you know what, I got to get from around my environment of people that know me. How do I break this and get the, mainstream? How do I get past, just my friends and family? And so I started pouring money into marketing. I started using influencers. I started putting money into ads. And that's what really scaled me. That got me in front of audiences and eyeballs that would have never seen me before. Some of my leaders right now to this day, they found me because of me pouring money into advertisement. Yeah. And they became some of my top earners right now. So I would encourage people to reinvest back into their business. Yeah. Content like what we're shooting right now, giving an audience a chance to get to know you, build trust. Once you do that, you got equity, and that's how you can pull. But that was a big thing that shifted everything for me, pouring money on a constant basis into marketing.
I remember those days. I mean, my boy Jason Stone.
Shout out to Jason. That's who I started with. We both started to use him
back in the days.
Yeah, he blew me up on Snapchat, blew me up on Instagram.
He's a beast, and
millionaire mentor for sure.
We did really well, working with Jason, and but that was back then. The algorithms changed.
Things have changed tremendously.
We have to evolve with.
You got to evolve. You got to step up with the times. AI, influencer marketing is still cool, but it's probably not as effective, and people can know when you're doing an ad or you got to become original, and that's why podcasts like this
has to be organic.
Got to be organic, and you got to add value. That's back in the days. Remember, we would go stand and have a Rolls Royce and stand in front of the. That doesn't work anymore. Like that's it's horrible. Cool, and people are like, okay, I don't even know if that's really his car or not. Yeah. But if you're giving information, if you're giving value, you're building equity with this audience. Especially if you know what you're talking about. Bro. Now people start, okay, this guy know what he's talking about. You start building trust and you start building a community. So now you can start asking and giving offers where people will pay for that information. Exactly. But that's where it's the times right now. It's about information. It's about value. It's about education. It's about giving and really getting yourself out there.
Even with AI, now that you mentioned it, AI is great. I mean, I use it for literally everything. The problem with AI is that people just use it like a quick Google search. It's not Google. There are I have some crazy strategies. Maybe we can get into sometime in the future in this podcast. But I have some crazy strategies that I use in order to implement AI into my work and into what I'm doing. There's a lot that you can do. There are courses out there that you can take on AI to learn how to use AI, meaning your quick little search and, hey, do this for me, write this for me, or write me a post on for Instagram. That doesn't, it's very basic level.
Yeah.
You can't use AI at a very basic level unless maybe your line of work doesn't really require AI. My line of work does. So I go down that rabbit hole of AI, and I'm talking about the things that I do to make AI work is on a whole nother level that I guarantee you most people have no idea how to even do what I'm doing, because I don't just keep it at a basic level. I go layers and layers and within layers upon layers upon layers with what if I'm working on a certain project. If I'm trying to put together, whatever, help me with this or help me with that, I go in, I'm talking layers deep in order for me to actually execute it, so it doesn't come out basic, because I don't want anything that I do with AI on a surface level to be basic, which is the case with AI.
Absolutely. What's your views? AI is I mean, AI is putting people out of work.
Yeah.
I mean, it's putting people out of business. I mean,
Unfortunately.
you got robots and so many other different things at restaurants and people that's using AI to just do a lot of things that their employees used to do. Kind of shifting gears a little bit. What is your views? You're a married man, and you've been married for how long?
Bro, since 2015, 2014.
2015, 2014?
2014.
2014.
Yeah, summer
Talking
of
about
2014.
12 years, 11,
Yeah.
12 years,
Yeah,
man.
bro.
What's
It's
your
been a
thoughts
while.
about that, man? Marriage is it all, shiny rainbows? Is
Unicorns
everything?
and rainbows. No, it's definitely not,
How
bro.
old was you when you got married?
I was right there. I was what, like, I think I was like,
You was in your 20s,
yeah, my mid 20s,
20s.
I think I was like
You think that's around a
25,
good age
26.
to?
Yeah, yeah. I think it's probably a little too late.
Why you say that? You're not
I
even
think, I
30.
think it's a little too
You
late.
haven't experienced life.
Yeah, but I think our culture is screwed up, especially us. We're from Miami, bro.
Yeah,
Miami's a mess.
marriage will save you, man. I think
Yeah,
I couldn't imagine, being in Miami, earning the type of money that I was earning, which it was a ridiculous amount.
yeah. Oh yeah,
I used to earn in a week what it probably would take me 4 or 5 years to make.
yeah.
So being in Miami, young at that time, if I wasn't covered, if I wasn't, I don't know what, I probably would have crashed out. I probably would have been reckless, man. I
Yeah,
think marriage is built to me to help you grow.
yeah. Of course,
It's going to challenge you.
of course.
It won't be easy. But as long as you have God in the center, you have a chance.
Yeah,
Once God get out of the picture, you really don't have a chance,
yeah.
because both people, you got to die to self daily. That's one of the things I learned, and things that I had to grow from
Yeah.
also.
No, I think that first of all, our culture in Miami wants you to wait till you're later. Why do you need to wait till you're later so you can go screw around for many years, for 10 years while you're in your 20s? You
Well,
screw
I
around,
think for me,
you
I
know,
wanted to be married at 25. That
yeah,
that was a goal for
which
me.
is great in Miami. For Miami standards, that's great. Same with me. I was
Yeah,
around the time.
25, because I felt like, for me, that was just what I wanted to
I
do.
would want my son to be married a whole lot earlier. You know.
But for me, I said 25 because I mean that's just the number that I had in my
Yeah.
growing up. But I didn't think that I would get married by
Yeah.
25, because when I was
Hmm.
23, I'm like, I don't, I think that's why people say they want to
Yeah.
wait till maybe they 30, maybe they whatever they probably want to get their finances,
Yeah.
their business, and whatever they want to get off the ground or go through life. But for me, I was like, I didn't think that I would meet someone at 23, when I was 23 at the time, to it feel like I can get to know them in
But
two
I will say
years.
this for entrepreneurs, and of course this doesn't apply to everybody. Everybody has a different situation, different whatever, different circumstances. I think for the most part, being married and sticking to one woman and not having to worry about 30 different women out there that you're chasing after is gonna keep you off
Oh
distractions.
yeah,
Because
no,
that's gonna distract the hell out of you,
yeah,
bro.
when you're married, I feel like you're grounded. I feel
Yeah.
like you have
No distractions, bro.
foundation.
You're more focused on
Yeah,
business.
you have a family.
Yeah.
You building something. You got structure.
Yeah.
I honestly, I don't think I would have had the success had I didn't get married as early as I did.
Because you weren't as distracted as if young Alfred Nickson
Yeah.
was single.
Like that type of money in Miami. Oh
I'm
man,
telling you,
I don't know. I thank God
chaos,
covered me, man. He
chaos.
put me in in a situation to be focused on what He's called me to do, and not focus on many different distractions.
That plus,
Whether you was making that type of money or not, just being single in Miami, period. I could have been working at Walmart and been
yeah.
out of alignment.
But another thing that I think you're kind of not giving yourself credit for is that you were actually brought up good with morals and values, bro. You did
Hmm.
have a decent upbringing. Listen, I've known you when you were broke, straight bumming, and you had good morals. I can tell that you were a good dude because you were raised right. You
Yeah.
had you had values, you had morals, and because of that, that even if you were single, I don't think it would have been as bad as you're probably
Yeah,
thinking,
but I'm just
because
saying.
you had a lot of values and morals from ever
Yeah,
since way before anything, bro.
yeah, but I'm just saying, being in Miami, being single, and with that type of money coming in,
Yeah,
I mean, if you can, if you're not disciplined,
yeah,
I mean, in anybody, you could be a disciplined individual and still get hammered
yeah.
by or distracted or
Mm,
off of the path to keep you ascending. And but when you got foundation, when you got structure, if you were to find a spouse, and you don't have to be married necessarily, say, so to speak, I would say find somebody that's on the same path line as you, and y'all could build towards that. That'd be great. But it
yeah,
gives you, it gives you the foundation. So for me, I think marriage is, I think is great. It's biblical.
yeah.
That's what God has called us to do with the right person. And I'll rephrase that. I always say that I don't want to say the right person. I say you don't want to pick the wrong person, because a person, if you pick them and they're not the wrong person, y'all can always grow. And
Yeah.
that's what you guys should be doing.
But man, you out there can tell what a woman's about, or you should be able to. At least I can. I can tell what a woman is about and what she's on from listen to her speak for a few minutes, just from seeing the kind of stuff she posts.
But why do
It's
you
so
think
easy, bro.
most marriages ends in divorce? That's
I mean,
what, 50%? Probably over 50%.
I have a controversial reasoning behind that.
What's that reason?
I don't know if we have enough time to get into all of that today. Maybe we can save that
Yeah,
for
for
another one,
sure, for
because
sure.
that's a whole nother deep conversation in itself, and that's a good one that we definitely gotta address. But I think overall it's just uh, men are hunters by nature.
They're hunters by nature, but I
Hmm.
also think most, not just most men, but people don't know how to pick, even
Yeah.
women. You know, when if I'm hiring somebody for my company, or for a business that I'm doing, or
Yeah.
even a job around the house, whatever the case may be,
Yeah.
it's a certain job level description that
Of
a
course.
requirements that a person have to have. If I'm hiring a plumber, you got to have certain credentials and
Yeah.
things. You have to know how to work. And then if you meet those requirements, you can get hired.
Yeah.
Most people, they don't ask the right questions. You know, sometimes people, when you go for a job interview, they say, yeah, we'll give you a call back. And you
Yeah.
never get that call. You don't get the second interview because you didn't meet the criteria for them to even consider you for the job. I think a lot of people, they hire people in a relationship or start dating that person
Yeah.
that don't fit the criteria of the company.
Yeah.
They may go off of how that person look, or they
Yeah.
may just go off of whatever that case may seem to be. That's why I think you got to ask the right questions,
Of
and you
course.
got to know what you're looking for
Hmm.
when it comes to that. Because if you don't, if you hire the wrong people in your company, it's going to damage the company,
Yeah.
which is be yourself. So
Yeah.
same thing should be when you're dating someone. You should be looking, what's their morals? Do they have a relationship with God? Are they in
Now,
alignment with
now I
you?
will say this. Now they can lie, right? They can lie and try to pretend
That's why
something's
you
not.
go through that
But
process.
but here's the thing: you can only lie so much. Something's gonna
People
slip through the
lie in
cracks.
interviews.
Something's gonna slip through the cracks. That's gonna tell me what you're really on. Go
And
finish.
I'd even say with my pastor, like he said, Alfred, stop looking for red flags. Everybody got flaws. He said, what I want you to focus on is what is that person's character.
Absolutely.
If you focus on what's their character, what's their morals, nobody's perfect. Everybody got flaws. If you find that and see, oh, this person got they got character.
Yeah.
They got a heart. They truthful. The way they got a relationship with God. You
Hmm.
can build and grow. You know,
Absolutely.
looking at a person's character. So that's kind of what I think the foundation should be. And again, I believe in marriage or any relationship, if you keep God in the center, you always give yourself a chance.
Yeah.
The moment that you think it's because of you, whether it be your success, your relationship, and you get off focus with that, I can sit here and say that's happened to me a couple times.
Yeah.
It's not a good thing. You gotta have God in the center and surrender everything to Him and let Him use yourself for His glory.
Absolutely. And all about character, morals, all that. But like I said though, they can lie. So something eventually will slip through the cracks. Even if they're lying, something's gonna slip through the cracks that's gonna let you know who she is for real. And if that's not what you want,
you'll see that's not a red flag. That's a character flaw.
yeah. But
Certain people just don't do
slip
certain.
through the cracks.
Yeah, you're gonna be able to have that
you can't hide that forever.
Yeah.
So when those little, when you start seeing that, you just have to have the right judgment.
Yeah, I separate myself from any bad energy, anything that's not of value, anything that's negative.
Just the way the woman dresses. If the woman dresses, all seductive, she's where dresses all seductive.
That
you
that
already
attracts,
know what she's where her head is. Why do you need to show all of that? To
not
dudes
for
you don't
a wife.
know,
No, nah.
And then when men look at them, then they play the victim, like they're oh, poor them, innocent them. But you're the one calling for that attention. Why are you doing that?
Yeah.
Why if you have a problem with men looking at you thirst trapping in the gym, why are you dressed like that?
Yeah.
Cover up.
Yeah.
Cover up. What's the problem with covering up? Why when I go to the gym, I don't go, men don't go showing everything. And I mean, some guys wear tank tops or whatever, but it's not necessary. None of that is necessary. You could go in a t-shirt, shorts to the gym. You don't need to do all that.
Right.
The little tights and all that. Why do you need to do all that? When you start seeing that, it starts becoming a little red flag.
Yeah.
It's not telling you everything. I'm not saying that it's everything, but now there's a red flag. Now it becomes a problem the worse that you carry that seduction to, but that's my issue. You can't play the victim for all these men to disrespect you in that kind of way if you're dressed like that. But that right there for you as a man, you should know, is that the kind of woman that you want? Because she's already telling you what kind of chick she is.
Yeah.
If she's dressed like that.
Absolutely.
And I know some are gonna get pissed, because I'm saying this, but that's the reality. If she's dressed like that, you already have an idea of what the kind of girl she is, bro.
Absolutely.
Do you really want to, go down that route?
Yeah. Not for marriage, no.
Not for marriage.
Yeah. Yeah.
You said it right there, not for marriage.
Absolutely.
We'll leave it at that.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, if you want to date a person to get to fill them out, but marriage, I mean, it's a certain level of character, even for the man, as a husband, things that you got to be as a leader and grow and build and lead the family, and also as a woman for the wife. And so, man, again, thank y'all for joining us, man. Absolutely. Again, you heard everything here. This podcast is, as you see here, Prophets and Profits. We're going to be covering a lot of these topics: business, finances. We're going to do a deep dive in faith. Y'all kind of seen a little bit that today, as well as relationships. You're going to have some incredible guests that we got some incredible relationships to be here. Listen, man, we got some incredible guests lined up. I'm talking about some heavy hitters that's going to be on here in many areas of life. Even some of the biggest pastors in the world that we're going to be bringing on, biggest business people in the world, content creators, relationship experts. We're going to be here to feed the people with value. I'm excited for y'all to really just consume all of the value that we're going to be giving, and also to meet some of the guests that we're going to be having here on the show. So I'm Alfred Nickson.
I'm Alecio.
And this is Prophets and Profits.
Oh, by the way, don't forget to like, subscribe, share this if you liked it. There's gonna be a lot of content, a lot of value. We're gonna drop a lot of heat, a lot of gold, a lot of secrets in business. You want to make it in the world of entrepreneurship. We're gonna be dropping a lot of gold. So tune in next time. Subscribe, like, the whole nine. Share your thoughts below. See you in the next one.
I'll be good.